The whole entire of this film is exactly like Obsession. Leviticus is a 2026 horror movie starring Joe Bird and Stacey Kloss, playing two love interests that find themselves in a fight for survival when an exorcism goes wrong. How wrong, you may ask? Let me tell you. Because I actually, when watching the trailer, actually felt some emotions and some sort of connection to the film itself, but it doesn't quite hit the mark on the romance or the horror spectrum. And that's on just one hand. But on the other hand, it actually works very well in what it's trying to say and its messaging. So let's just jump right into it. Leviticus opens up with a girl in a pool after hours. Now, what she's doing there, I don't know. I was out refilling my popcorn because the previews took too long. AMC needs to actually cut it to like a good 12 minutes off of their 35-minute preview trailer time. So it opens on her inside of the showers in a pool. She's there. She's kind of having an orgasm, and you're kind of not sure what's going on, but quickly things turn south. She literally heads towards the floor. The water stops. Screaming starts, blood everywhere. Like there's an off-screen kill. Obviously, she dies, and it cuts straight to our main character's name and Ryan. I absolutely want to freaking punch the screenwriter and director of this film so bad in the face, but not really. Like, you do you, like, you keep on making your films, but the uncreativity it takes to name your main character name, yeah, it's not a good look for the start of the film, especially the whole entire film, as you may watch and unveil. The first shot we see is a skull with horns. Ryan and Name walking in a field and they find a snake eating a frog. And the frog is kind of on the outside so you can see its face. And this is where the film really struck me because is it trying to say if you eat ass, you're dying? When I first was watching it, like the skull represented like scare away like crows and stuff, like a scarecrow would, and kind of bring fear. Now looking back to it, I kind of contextualize the skull as that 100% because that is the major theme of the plot, but also the fact that it's death itself just watching you, staring you down, and you're helpless as a toad, or for this fact, in fact, a frog inside of a snake. You're gonna be swallowed whole no matter what. In Name, Joe Bird's character is like kind of ew, no, get it away, like stop him from eating it. And Ryan is like, no, it's fine. And this is kind of where the movie starts to drag. Scenes acting as if they were placeholders for better things to be written onto. And this whole entire film's pace is off. But let's go more into the story first. So after seeing the snake and the frog, they go into an abandoned building. That's where they start to like get rough with each other and start making out. First, it's Ryan to make the move. Name looks over to a mirror and he can't help but see what's like right in front of him and he stops. Kind of just like portraying like the internal homophobia of just like looking into a mirror and seeing yourself. For Name's character, this is his first time ever experiencing something like this, and Ryan says so as well. But further on into the story, we kind of develop an inkling that he kind of lied since Name walks over to his place and tries to get in contact with Ryan, but ends up seeing him with Hunter, a boy in their class that also likes to rough house, that also likes to kiss other boys. And that's where our main character Name is like, whoa, first off, you lied to me. Second of all, for kissing the bully? Huh? Ah, nah, I'm gonna tell your mama. And that's what Name does. He goes ahead and tells the parents of Ryan. They try to relieve his spirit with help of a deliverance healer that performs an exorcism on him. And this deliverance healer enacts exorcism through a lighter. As simple as it is, maybe he's a smoker, maybe he just owns a lighter shop, who knows? And there's not much backstory between the characters of Name and Ryan and the deliverance healer, but I wish there was something interjected where we got either more background on the romantic side or more background on the deliverance healer side, because there's nothing that actually lines up to why is this mother there in that first place. Because if it was like this deliverance healer like maybe had a few books written about him and like she like had so many books of his and followed his practices, obsessed with his healing properties, or if the guy is like an older being, like sort of say from biblical times, like a Cain almost, where he grows but he doesn't age physically. Like they could have really like interjected some level of like, oh, that's what's going on. But it's more played as a simple, I'm gonna exorcise the demon out of you. But what actually happens is performing a ritual to enact a demon upon you and your spirit. And that's where the film really, really shines, because for an exorcism to not work in the favor of God, to work in the favor of human, to make man fearful and make man want to seek help. It's kind of a different version of a horror that we've seen before. So the exorcism is actually performed on Ryan and Hunter, and Name's out of it. Like he's watching the exorcism be performed because he's a part of the church. Their bodies are literally gasping for air, like they're being suffocated. It's actually very mentally impactful to the main character. I believe Joe Bird's careers opened up like completely. For an Australian actor, I want him in big movie. Not Marvel, but something big. He's got the chops for sure. In this film, he actually goes ahead and tells the parents, and the sister has an inkling of something weird is amiss, and we find out that the sister actually knows what's going on. Name actually follows Ryan into a photo booth. Ryan's acting like he's with someone, literally is making out with air, like just acting weird, and Name's looking at these photos on the outside and opens the curtain, and that's where he finds Ryan in the literal corner choking to death up by nothing, by an invisible hand. In that moment, it kind of diverges you from like, what the fuck, to later on thinking about it later on in the story, and it distracting you, because when he opens the curtain, he physically sees like a hand pressed up against Ryan's neck, but Joe is right there with him. You know what I mean? It's not, it instantly disappeared once Joe opened the curtain. Like the rules of the movie kind of makes it out to seem. It kind of plays in your face for most of the film. And that's just the way the entity works. It just plays in the main character's face. It tries to feed onto your desires and make you think, oh, I am the person you want, you know? And for a fact, it is, but it's not the real person. You know what I mean? And that's where it goes to show this isn't really a film about homophobia. It's about living with a person that you want to be with, and not having that can kind of seem like hell. But listen. We're not at the true horror yet. Just wait. So after Name finds him in the photo booth choking to death, he immediately stops it and runs out and is like, what the fuck? Why are you doing this to me? Name, you need to stop. Like, just stop. We can't do this anymore because my parents are going to find out and it's going to be bad for all of us. And you know, that's one thing that these people do in this movie. It's like they repeatedly from the beginning say, do not go near me, do not do this, that, and they just don't listen. It's horror movie logic that just doesn't really work now. And Joe is on a hunt for Hunter because he wants to know what the fuck is going on, what is this entity, like it's going ahead and messing with Ryan, so it has to have something to do with Hunter as well. So Hunter actually also sees the demon. He actually sees the demon so much that they throw rocks at each other almost every night. And as weird as that sounds, it's kind of hot. But this one night, Name decides to stay late and try to view Hunter to see if he could catch the entity with him. And that's exactly what happened. Hunter is killed off screen, another off screen kill. Yikes. When you want to make a horror film, maybe have like some sentimental value towards horror and divulge in some horror creative minds behind the films that are so iconic. Because I swear to you, I went over to my partner a few minutes into like this movie and I whispered, this is a whole nothing burger. And he's like, what? This is a whole nothing burger. What the fuck? Oh my God. Guys, because literally we were in the theater and I had to travel an hour away, right? Oh my gosh, you guys, like there's nothing much that happens in this film until the exorcism, and the striking visuals pretty much are the snake in the toe and the hand on the neck. Like those are the only striking visuals in this film. And the trailer made it seem like it was gonna be so iconic and filled with so much pretty visual. But this is not a director of photography. See, the director of this film is actually an editor. And I'm not gonna say that this director has any bad works previously because I don't know his works. I don't know if he's worked on previous horror films or worked with for creatives, but it's just plain a mess, this whole entire script, because we don't really get the gears turning until Joe actually finds out what's going on. And then when we get the deaths don't really live up for a horror name. You know what I mean? You have some deaths, okay, that I guess that makes it a horror film, but the horror doesn't come from that. It's not about that. I understand. But when this director was writing this film, in actuality, the script, he had specifically said, I watched an interview, he specifically stated that when he was writing the script, he let a fellow friend read it, and the friend was like, there's no one really dying. You're writing a horror movie, but no one's died yet. And I think it probably didn't need any deaths, to be honest. That was probably the major downfall of this film for my taste. And it definitely bumped it down half a star to a star. That's already a star off, basically, off of the rating. So Name actually goes to the police immediately. Like he's dead, there's a ghost or something. He's so frantic and so upset. It literally makes me want to cry. But the caseworker's like, okay, sweetie, you're fine. I'm not here to hurt you. Everything's gonna be cool. So Joe's like, I get that, but he's gonna die. Like, they're gonna come after Ryan now. It already killed Hunter. And the caseworker's like, I'm not gonna help you. You sound a little too crazy. I'm gonna call your mother or someone to help. And she does that. But before she walks out the door, he admits his feelings, and he admits him and Ryan were both intimate with each other. And you want to know what happens? I'm pretty sure you could probably guess. The caseworker goes ahead and tells the mother, yeah, I'm gonna need a lawsuit filed right now. And once the mother finds out, she immediately calls Deliverance Healer and is like, yo, come to my house. I'm gonna set up my son. We're gonna do this. And I feel like that's probably should have been seen, like her in the car, or like her walking to the bathroom making the call, and it just being so tense, the build up from the drive home, if you know what's happening rather than how it played out. Because how it played out is the mother sits in the car and Name is taken out literally by the reverends. Well, he opens the door and he runs out, but he's taken by the church and the Deliverance Healer, and the exorcism is performed on him. And the mother's just sitting in the car, just like, I hate my gay son. And I'm telling you, this happens like maybe 30 minutes into the movie, when this should have been like the first like maybe 9 minutes of the film, because it just takes a little while to develop. But Name gets the exorcism and he's at Hunter's wake. He's out of it. He seems kind of dissociative. He steps outside from his mother and just bolts out the door. That's where he sees Ryan smoking a few yards away from everyone else, away from the house. And they start to have a conversation. You know, Name's talking to Ryan, and he fully is convinced that it is Ryan at that point. But they start making out, and Ryan goes for the jugular, literally right in front of everyone else. Anyone can glance at any second, and pushes him against the fence, and they both topple over. And it seems like the spirit or ghost or whatever entity it is seems kind of impacted by it too. Kind of like it feels pain. But we'll put a pin in, because feeling pain, okay, we could do that with an entity. Let's see what else we can do. So quickly, Name runs away, diffuses the situation, and turns back, yells at everyone, hey, help me, stop Ryan. And Ryan bolts out the door from inside of the house. Name's dumbstruck. He's like, what the fuck? You were literally just behind me. You're literally just making out with me. You literally just choked me. Almost like what happened in the photo booth. If 1 + 1 = 2, then birds can fly. Who would have thought? So it's clear that both of them are suffering through the same type of entity, through the exorcism that was performed. And remember Hunter's sister, how she knew an inkling about something? She knows the whole entire thing. She knows the past about the deliverance healer and what happened previously at a summer camp that she had been to, and the incident with the girl from the beginning of the film. And this is where any normal filmmaker, film director would probably intersperse like either a image or just that same image that we saw of her bloody, or replay it or show us a widescreen, just show like a drop down angle of her body like everywhere inside of the showers, you know what I mean? But no, the films feels like this director should probably be directing a documentary and not a horror film. And that's very apparent at this very moment, because everything that plays out after this is very so gentle and confronting and ambient and naturalistic that it's not any world that's crazy. It's just like our world, you know what I mean? But we'll also put a pin in that later on. And what happens at the summer camp, she actually knows about the girl that survived the incident, not the girl that actually died in the showers, but the love interest of her. And she's actually staying at a hospital because the demon is near people. It can't really attack you or move on in. It kind of has to work its way around eyesight, which then again doesn't really make sense with the first incident that happened. So anyway, they track down the girl that happened previously. Her name is Jessica. So the boys kind of do a little bit of research on Jessica and the girl that died at that summer camp, and turns out the girl that died was actually a lifeguard. I looked to my partner and went, I guess she couldn't guard her life. And it got us rolling, bro. We were dead ass laughing. Like, we were dead laughing. She just couldn't guard her life, I guess. She was bad at her job. Who knows? Jessica is batshit crazy. She's like, what are you doing? Who are you looking for? No, it's not me. Actually, it is me. So she starts spilling back her whole backstory. I'm so sorry, Australians. And Name kind of says something a little offensive to her. He basically mentions, so if the entity is still out for you, does it still take shape of the girl that died previously? And she does get offended by that, rightfully so. But I feel like that would have been such a good moment to intersplice like moments of her previously, like as a kid growing up in that summer camp, having visions of her afterwards, and like what that entity probably did to make her afraid of it. Like that should have been a scene within itself, or like probably retelling her escape from the entity to the hospital, how she found out the hospital was a safe haven. That probably would have been a good thing to film, you know what I mean, to put into the film. But with it being so long, I feel like it probably didn't need that. Instead of more backstory for her, we actually get her to end up being a crazy person to end off the scene. The security guards of the hospital pull her away as she's screaming at them. I think she says something specific of like, it will never stop. You guys need to split up. That's the only way, I believe she says. She says like, we should have split. We should have split up. We should have never been blah blah blah. And that's kind of the takeaway of the entity. It drives fear into you. It doesn't need to be reiterated because we know what's going on as the viewers. Almost, we should have got more backstory into the actual characters is what we should have gotten. So the boys are like, damn, I guess we can't be together, blah blah blah. So now with that knowledge, the boys kind of understand how it works. They try to take off and they end up on a bus. Name's character gets trapped outside of the bus, and then Ryan's demonic form kind of makes an appearance out of nowhere behind the bus, which leads to a freaky scene, but it doesn't amount to anything because what happens is Ryan's on the bus and Name gets on the bus second. They look behind them and the entities disappeared. From there, we get a scene of them on the bus, and Ryan gives Name a hand job in the middle of a bus full of people, which isn't bad, but it's overall weird. And for a film to do this now, it's not as risque as it may have been in the past. Mix in the themes of homophobia. In previous cases, people will say, oh, being gay in public is public indecency. Gay people are sexual deviants. And no, it's not. Having sexual intercourse is kind of that, right? So why would you then put your characters under that same light of homophobic stereotypes? It kind of just didn't make sense to me, and it didn't amount to anything. It wasn't like the scene in Moonlight, because in the film Moonlight, it's kind of represented as an offering of invitation to that side of each other. And that was kind of already the first scene. We already got them making out. We didn't need that scene, especially if it doesn't amount to anything. Now, if you watch this in theaters and watch the trailers, you definitely have seen the trailer for the new Insidious movie. And in that trailer, there's this woman kind of going down a maze and whatnot, and she turns one way and she sees a head pop out, and she's like, oh fuck, gotta go the other way. And as soon as she sees the escape, a body kind of swings out of the ceiling. And that's kind of a crazy visual. And it's not scary in terms of anything, but also I kind of really wanted that to happen in this film. There on the bus, I wanted the entity to kind of actually hold on to the bus or jump on top of the bus instead of just like being left out of the whole entire hand job scene entirely. I feel like that scene should have like finished with like kind of a gag where like he does finish, the body fluid gets on Ryan either on his face or somehow, and it happens in a result of Name getting scared of like some jump scare or something outside of the thing, and it should have been like, like, you know what I mean, and then everyone look back and be like, what the fuck. It just didn't amount to anything. What happens after the hand job is they just laugh about it and then move on to the next scene, which also gets me to the biggest downfall of this film that also brings it down half a star to a star, is the fact that most like this film and most other films, I want to say the back rooms in terms of a film where I felt like this, is the fact that there's no world building without the soundtrack or the atmosphere of it all. And it really goes to show how arts in filmmaking as a whole kind of dwindles down when it's all about just the photography and about the look of the film, when in actuality the sound of the film is just as 50% of the film as it is visual. And this film actually gives us nothing in those moments of quietness or moments of passionate making out or even tense moments. There's nothing that really garners the feeling of horror or the romance or the world building and for what it matters. And world building is 100% the reason why you make a film. It's to make a world, and that's almost never been seen before. While someone might contradict that, it's completely true. Like some of the greatest films that might be your favorite probably have a great soundtrack, and that's probably not something that you kind of focus on. But when you focus on movies that are actually in your favorite lists, you'll kind of see that they kind of share the same vibes and amount of world building as each other. And the only movie that I could probably think of when I was thinking of Backrooms is Donnie Darko, because even that movie is like an existential film about dread and what can be and what cannot be, and the path of life that you take boils down to, is it a historical moment or will you just fade into nothingness? But the Backrooms kind of takes a spin on that and builds, oh, the world and environment that you know can be copied. So what is reality if all human traits are depleted and there was just material? But this isn't a Backrooms review. Boys obviously need to stop seeing each other, but they don't. That's the biggest problem that they have, is that the temptation and desire that they feel for each other is just too strong. And it's very much a big downfall for their relationship. Just like the downfall of this film is the fact that everything that happens in the film, I kind of predicted in a sense. Once the first like 12 minutes hit, I was like, oh, I know what's going on. I know what's happening. And whenever they were making out in the wake, I kind of pictured Ryan pulling and tugging on Name's ear and pulling it off. And that's what happens later on, because when Ryan's alone, right after the bus scene, we kind of see, well, during the bus scene, we kind of see Name lick Ryan's ear, and also same. And that's kind of a motif that the entity uses against Ryan. He ends up getting his ear bit off. Not completely. It's like still attached, but it's literally blood gushing out of his head. And everyone in school is looking at like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how did this happen? And there's no explanation. There's no principal, or there's no rush to the ER, to the nurse's office. Nothing. It just cuts to him with his ear stitched up in church. And yeah, that makes sense. Sure. We don't need a whole entire scene of him getting his ear stitched up, but it kind of would have been kind of cute for Name to make a gesture to be like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Here's some flowers. I'll visit you in the hospital. I'll do something for you. It's more like Name's character is trying to keep his desires in check and act upon them. As foolish as one can be, it's not too harsh of a mistake. The biggest mistake he made was telling the parents in the first place. Like, that could have been all avoided if he just confronted his feelings and just been like, hey, I like you. Why were you kissing this other boy? I saw you. What's the word? Either you're playing in my face or what's going on. But he definitely resorted to telling the parents, and that's what brought it all down. So they're in church. They are. Hunter's father kind of gives a speech. Everything in this film kind of aligns with each other in words and the way the actors portray themselves as someone that does rarely go to church, but can 100% say whenever they do go to church, there's always a specific sermon or something that a pastor preaches about that you ponder on throughout the week, and then you go in ahead and hear that sermon, something that a pastor says, and it kind of resonates with you, and it's something natural but also natural because it's coming from the words of a person that you can physically see. So that in that instance, I kind of connected with that. But the reason why I bring up Hunter's father is because he actually packs up his things and he actually moves. He actually says goodbye to his family, wife, I'm sorry, daughter, I'm sorry, son that passed. I'm up and out. And the daughter doesn't like that. She ends up taking both Ryan and Name to a setup to get beat up, basically. Like, once I saw them in the car together, I was like, oh, I kind of see where this is going. This kind of a setup. I said that to my partner, and my partner was like, what? It's a setup. Oh, it's a setup. Yes, it's a setup. But yeah, I mean, the boys end up getting beat up almost. That's when Ryan bolts to the car, takes it from Hunter's sister, tells Name, hey, get inside, we're going. He goes ahead and drops Name off at his house. And he basically says, if you see someone that looks like me, just know that it's not me. It won't be me. You won't ever see me again. Basically, their final goodbyes. And of course, he drops Name off. Name goes inside, and guess who's outside of his door? Yeah, it's Ryan. Ryan's like, "Hey, let me in." The entity's right. He's right out front.
Open the door. I love you.
This is kind of where I thought the movie kind of mixed up. I don't know if Australians' back door is their front door and the front door is their back door. Like, I don't know how that works. The entity basically says, hey, entity is out back. Just let me in. And I was like, wait, are you not the entity already in the back and that was the front door? That kind of confused me, but that could have been a Freudian slip from the entity itself, like kind of telling on itself. Anyway, I catch it. Name doesn't really catch it. And he kind of falls for the trick of the entity, and the entity gathers enough momentum and desire from Name that he actually bursts through the screen door and grabs him. It snatches his hair and pulls it out. It's a really touching moment, but it's completely seeable. It's kind of like the entity kind of has more romantic lust and desires than Ryan actually has for Nate. And could have been like a really weird like thing for the film to do, where it could have played on the aspect of it turning into the thing that you most desired. He could have instantly like desired someone else and got away sooner or quicker or something. But the film's not trying to portray it as, oh, it's a shape-shifting monster, someone that you love and desire, you hold immense feelings for them, therefore those feelings can't fade away that quickly. And it's clear that it's an analogy for conversion therapy. And I just want to intercut here and say that I haven't specified a certain character because that character actually comes into play at the very end. Previously, the mother character obviously set up the conversion therapy to be held, the exorcism, but she was also distant from her son after it happened. They kind of sort of grew apart from each other very quickly. And one morning after Name is very violently scared to be alone, he ends up sleeping in his mother's room, and the mother can nowhere to be found until he actually gets out of the room. And she's like, oh, well, what's this entity look like? Like, what do you mean it looks like this Ryan kid? Oh, if you can't tell me, well then I'm sorry, I just can't help you. And she makes a very emphasis decision to make it known that she cannot help him. And she quickly leaves for work. She says, okay, make your own dinner. And seemingly the reason for all this is the fact that she knows what's going on, just like Hunter's sister does. And she basically understands what the entity is doing. Nate understands that fire can hurt this entity because back at home, the entity was literally stuffing his hand down Name's throat. He grabbed a few scissors and some other sharp objects to stab him, and it doesn't even make the entity flinch at all. And that was such a crazy scene. The whole implications of, that, like, the whole implication is crazy. So after learning that fire can hurt the entity, Name goes ahead and runs away, goes back to the abandoned building that they were at in the beginning of the film. He sets the abandoned building on fire, almost getting his head crushed, and the entity one last time reaches out for him. This is what they wanted. This is fear. I would never be afraid of this. I have feelings for you. And that Name shuts the door, the window, which I don't know if do factory windows have outside shutters? Like, now thinking about that, that kind of doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you want to shut a window with a metal plate on the outside? Maybe it is a thing, I don't know. The entity screams and howls, and so after the entity's defeat, there's a search party for Ryan. Name is there with his mom on the search hunt. Firefighters are putting it out, and he's confessing to the mom, hey, I've been here before. I know it sounds crazy, but me and Ryan have been seeing this thing, and it's really, really hurt me, and I just don't know what to do. And the mother's like, I know. I know everything that's going on, was made aware about everything, about the entity, and I just try to do what's best for you. When I tell you that the evil main characters are right in our face in these movies, it's insane. They're literally right in our face. Like, what? So, my partner goes to me and he's like, she's like Bear. And I instantly start bawling my eyes. I'm like, holy fuck, she is like Bear. She understood the process that it takes to inflict a demon onto her son, and she did it to persuade fear into him to stay away from these feelings. Although she doesn't understand what exactly it does, unless she does know that it goes after the singular person that you most desire. She probably thought it meant like, oh, he's gonna be seeing like visions of like gay people dying or something. Whatever the deliverance healer and his church told her, we're very unsure of. But she understands the gravity of the situation and how it can kill, obviously. And she's not regretful of that. She actually accepts that. And she just wants the best for her son. And in that, she kind of is exactly like Bear. The whole entire of this film is exactly like Obsession, into which the whole entire theme of the film is, would you change the trajectory of the life of someone that you love so dearly and so much that it hurts them physically, mentally, and spiritually? Would you want to inflict that hurt? And how far would you go for that love and to embrace that? So both films do really touch up on that. And it is kind of weird because in one of the marketings, it says the next summer hit after Obsession and Backroom. This deserves to be seen. And of course it deserves to be seen. I just feel like it should have been made in 2005, where it kind of could have made an impact and it's storytelling. And I also say this this movie is kind of like Backrooms for its subtle, naturalistic approach to things and its quiet ambiance, which does not work in this film's favor at all. It works in the Backrooms. That's completely fine. But when I say that and I want films to be having that, films like such as Donnie Darko, like I had said, have these amazing piano, what I mean, that really invites you into the world. This film doesn't really do that. It doesn't shake up the genre. It doesn't create something new. It doesn't give foundation for the LGBTQ community. The only thing it really works in is the simple theme of fear and love and how fisting can hurt, I guess. Yeah, that's the horror of this film. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. My next film that I should be talking about in the horrors of cabin fever, because summer is in a few days away. If you like this video and want more, like, subscribe, do whatever you want with your life, and yeah, have a good one. Peace.